Hello, hello, and welcome to HMO Heroes Live at 5. We have a great show for you tonight. I know you're going to love this guest, especially if you're in rent-to-rent or if you're in HMO lettings. And these lives are a great way for you to be involved as well and to ask us questions. So do ask any questions that you have, and also, comment so we know that you're there. If you can see us now, just give us a thumbs up so that we know that we're online. So I'm just slightly hesitant because I can't see any viewers yet, and I know that Nicky will definitely be looking for this. So if you're in rent-to-rent or you're growing an HMO management business, tonight's guest is hugely inspirational in what she's achieved in just 5 years after quite a rocky start. So she'll be sharing with us how she started in business and grew her business. And I just love her because she's a go-getter, and she's got a go-getter attitude and such positivity. And she's overcome huge hurdles to get to where she is today. And she's consistently developing her skills and her business for growth. She doesn't just rest on her laurels. Her business, Kendall Bailey, now manages over 30 rent-to-rent properties with over 150 HMO units. I should have said rent-to-rent and owned HMO properties. And Katrina started with very little property experience, and within 6 months she'd secured 6 rent-to-rent properties, built her team and employed staff within a couple of years. And she's now set up her business and outsourced herself from it, so it runs entirely without her on a day-to-day basis. So I now want to say a huge welcome to Katrina Jones, HMO Hero. Hi, Katrina.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you doing?
Amazing, thank you. Very, very well.
Good. So let's start at the beginning. Tell us a little bit about where you're from and a bit about you starting off.
Amazing. So, wow, where to start? So, in a nutshell, I'm originally from Brixton in South London. So I was born in this country. However, I left the UK when I was 19. I finished school at 16, and my first job was a cleaner, so I didn't do A-levels or university or anything like that. And I left the UK at 19, and I just had a bit of a quarter life moment, and I changed my name and sold my car, quit my job, and I just bought a one-way ticket and decided to travel. So I did that, and I ended up in Australia, where I lived for 5 years. Which was very, very fun, and had a really successful career out there. Yeah. But then my residency got declined, and I came back to the UK and discovered completely randomly and accidentally discovered property, and the rest is history, really.
Fantastic. So I know that you had, I don't know if you want to go through that, you had some hurdles to cover that you addressed in the beginning to become, a uber fantastic salesperson when you went out to Australia. I don't know if you want to talk about going out to Oz and coming back.
Yeah, of course. I think the biggest hurdle that I've ever had to deal with and overcome was just really, really bad anxiety when I was younger. So it kicked in at about 15, and I remember where I was and what I was doing, and that I thought that would get better with time, but it got worse. So
yeah,
there was a period of my life of 4 to 5 years where I found it very difficult to even talk to people, found it very difficult to even go out or socialise or anything like that. So that was really challenging, and I was blessed enough that my mum was doing everything she could to support me. And she gave me a cassette tape, which was called Overcoming Fears and Phobias. And I listened to it, and it was literally like a miracle, but overnight it disappeared. And that's when I made the decision that, do you know, if overnight that can happen when you master mind over matter, it was kind of a case of, what else can I do? You know, like, if that's possible, surely anything's possible. And from there, my life just became one challenge after another of seeing how much I could grow and what I could achieve and that kind of stuff. So, yeah.
Fantastic. Thanks, Katrina. And then, so you went over to Spain. You went over to Spain. You went to Australia, and then you came back. And take up the story. So your visa wasn't renewed, I think, and you came back to the UK. And so take up the story from there.
Yeah, so I was trained in Australia as like it was like the Royal Marines of attitude and mindset with sales on top, right? So it was hardcore and it was phenomenal. Mm-hmm. So I was extremely optimistic and always positive. So when I applied for my residency, I planned the party to celebrate my residency being accepted. So when my immigration officer called to say, well, actually, it's been declined, I was completely not ready for that at all. So I had a few options. I could marry someone, which I asked my best friend to marry me. He said no, so that was off the table. Get another job. Say that.
I was just saying, what kind of a friend is that?
Right. And then I had the option of getting another job, and I just thought, you know, life's too short to do a job I don't want to be doing just so I can live here. Like, I think it's a sign. So I had 28 days to leave the country. And when I got back to the UK, I got a sales job because sales is what I did. But it didn't take very long for me to realise how unfulfilled I was in a job, because in Australia I was kind of an entrepreneur. So I got to build my own teams and fly around the country and open offices and speak at their press conferences and all these kind of things. And suddenly I had a boss and I was just being told what to do. So my ex-fiance, Alex, he came in one day and he said, I've made a decision and we need to do property. And I remember saying to him, what do you mean do property? Like, surely either you buy a house or you rent a house. Yeah. What else can you do with it? And so he stayed in his man cave for days on the internet, and he was researching and YouTubing, and he read like a whole stack of books. And then he just took me to this event, and I was so skeptical and I didn't want to go. And in the end, I went. And then the next thing I knew, I was there saying, we need to take out credit cards. We need to do every single course, because until we learn all of it, how do we know we've picked the right strategy? And let's do it and let's make it happen. So we did. We both did all of the courses that the company that we went to see were providing. We knew from the very beginning we didn't want to be in business together. Just so that there were no kind of blurred lines with business, relationship, etc. So he chose an investment strategy, I chose an investment strategy, and off we went.
Yeah, great. And you chose rent to rent.
I did, yes.
So tell us how that was getting started.
Ridiculously easy. It was too easy. It was also hilarious because Alex was doing his finals at uni for his first year at uni at the time. Yeah. And he just said to me, I need to be really calm for like the next 4 weeks. So let's not do anything outrageous, because he knew what I was like. Anyway, 1 week later, I got fired.
Oh my goodness.
I couldn't tell him because he just said, like, let's be cool for the next 4 weeks while I do my exams. So every day I was waking up and putting on a full suit and going out to Starbucks with my laptop. So I started the business completely in secret. But it I know that it has a lot to do with my experience in sales and mindset and stuff like that, but really it was a case of making enough calls to secure a deal, refurbishing it and putting the tenants in, and that replaced my income, and I did it within 4 weeks. So it's a very, very, very simple strategy, which is why I chose it.
Yeah. So for anyone watching who's just new in property and thinking about going into rent to rent, what advice would you give them? Can you tell the story of how you actually got your first deal?
Yeah, of course. So my advice to anyone going into rent to rent, and to be really honest, Stephanie, my advice to anyone going into property would without a shadow of a doubt be to educate yourself properly. And, you know, it's like anything. I don't know why people suddenly think it's different with property, but anything that you're going to do as a profession, and a property investor is a profession, right? You need to have the correct training. And I know there's not a degree as such like other professions, but let's just say, and I know it's not quite the same, but, you know, if you're going to be a doctor or a surgeon or a pilot or a carpenter or anything, you don't just watch a few YouTube videos, read a few books and think, I'll give it a go. You know, like, you have to know what you're doing. And the blind spot in property, the dangerous section, and when I say dangerous, I'm not being dramatic, is the section where you don't know what you don't know. So you might read books and watch a few YouTube videos and you actually think that you've got all the information you need, but you know, you might not have understood the legals or the compliance, planning, licensing, mortgage implications, all of this stuff that you don't know is a thing. And I can pretty much guarantee someone's not going to write every single thing in a book or on a YouTube video, because it takes, like, you know, a couple of days to train the whole thing. So get educated properly for sure, and the time and money you will save by starting with all the information you need and no margin for error is going to be, I would say, between 10, 100 or 1,000 times than if you just try to piece it together yourself. I mean, it's going to take donkey's years, let's be honest.
Okay. Yeah, you have to, and you've got to make this thing work. So what did you do to get started?
So the way that I started is I just started to call agents. However, I didn't have a script or a pitch or anything, so I just thought, I'll make it up as I go along, it'll be fine. So this is not what you say to agents, just for the record, but I was calling agencies and saying, so I'm a private property investment company in York, and I just wondered if you had any properties on your books that you maybe didn't want anymore that I could have. And that was my opening like statement to agents. And so let's be honest, it didn't go too well. But then an agent said to me, oh, just put it in an email. And he kind of just hung up the phone. And one of the main things I've learned in the past is a no isn't a no. So it's just not now. So I wrote this spectacular email and all the things that we did and what we wanted to do with them in the property, etc. And then I nearly fell off my chair, because a few hours later, he then wrote back and said, the landlords are all asking a few similar questions. And he had these questions and I thought, whoa, he's actually speaking to landlords about what I've just said. So I ended up telling him what to say, and then the next morning my phone rang and it was a lovely landlady who said, you know, I've heard X from X company has told me what you do. Do you want to come and view my HMO? And I wiped the sweat off my brow and said yes. I was so nervous, but
So you turned up at the HMO? Yeah,
so I turned up and the lady, she's the loveliest lady, but she occurred to me as a little bit scary. So she had a Mini Cooper convertible, and she had on Tiffany & Co sunglasses and a little dog and a blonde bob, and I just thought, my goodness me. So she was very direct and she said, you know, just come in, have a look around, and she said, I haven't got any time to waste, so don't mess me around. And I was like, okay, fine, let's do it. So we looked around, and she asked me what I wanted to offer. However, I hadn't really thought that far ahead. So I just said, well, usually with a property like this, like as if I'd ever done it before, usually we offer about £50 per room per week. And I knew that was really low, but I thought when she says no, I'll go home and calculate actually what I can offer and we'll negotiate. But she just took a massive huff and just went, fine. And I thought, pardon? So that was it. That was my first deal. It was winged from beginning to end. Now, I'm not saying for a second anyone wing anything, but actually the point I like to make with this story is that even if you don't know what you're doing, literally, like, you can still make it work. And so don't ever overthink, oh, I need this and this and this. Of course, get educated properly, but what I'm saying is don't sweat the small stuff. You know, if you're pitching or like you're trying to explain what you do, don't worry about messing up, because you know, they don't know what you're meant to be saying. So if you say something wrong, they don't know. So just go with it. It's fine.
Exactly. And you went from that one to then 6 in 6 months. So that just sounds crazy. So how did that go?
Easy. It was easy. I dealt with agents, Gumtree. I sent letters out, and it was just when I was ready to find the next one, I put my feelers out, and it came. And so it's about 2 weeks for a refurb, 2 weeks to fill it, on to the next one.
Right. No, that sounds brilliant. So you've now got these 6 HMOs in 6 months. Was it, and you're saying it was easy, were you not a bit headless chickenish by this point with all those new tenants and all?
No, not at all, because the way that I do it is you have a 4-week process for a new property. So you take it on, you spend a maximum of 2 weeks refurbishing it, and then you have a maximum of 2 weeks to fill it. Now, unless you're working full time, that doesn't take 40 hours a week. A refurbishment is mainly project management. I wasn't about to start painting the walls and carpeting it myself, so I used the budget to hire someone else. So other than popping in to project manage once or twice a day, and I went and did all the finishing touches, because the soft furnishings and decorating is my favourite thing. But it still doesn't take, 8 hours a day. And then to fill a property, I mean, it's 5 or 6 bedrooms. That doesn't take long. And then the ASTs are 6 months. So once the tenants are in, they're in and they're happy. So then you can just relax and do the next one. Great.
Okay. And then this is where it gets a little bit more interesting as well, because you decide to really scale up from, you've got the 6, you started off, you've got things going, and then you took the decision to take on staff and turn it into, an actual lettings business, and scale things up a bit. So can you tell us about that?
Yeah, of course. Well, actually, it's quite a funny story. I got these 6 properties, and it was making a really nice amount per month, and I'd actually hired a part-time lettings exec, so I didn't have to do any of the lettings. And then I'd hired a part-time admin and PA, so we didn't have to deal with any of the admin or maintenance. And it was a really nice, simple setup, and it was sorted. So I booked myself a holiday to Tenerife. Yeah. And I was sitting, I mean, it's silly really, but I was sitting in my favourite beach club with a mojito. And I turned to the person I was with and I said, I can't believe I've done it. Like, I've created a hands-free business and like financial freedom for what financial freedom meant to me. And they said, you haven't really though, have you? And I said, what do you mean? And they said, well, let's be honest. When one of these properties goes back to the landlord, who's going to replace it? If a customer service complaint gets escalated past the office, who has to deal with it? If a member of staff quits, who's going to hire the next member of staff? And I just my elation of this, you know, moment of thinking I'd done it lasted all about 3 sips of a mojito. And I was like, oh man, do you know what? You're actually completely right. So I reached out to one of my mentors who taught me everything in the beginning. And I just said, look, this is, I'm a bit torn. I feel like I've done it, then I feel like I haven't. And they just said, look, there's 2 types of businesses really when it comes to what we do. You can either have a lifestyle business, which you've totally created. It suits your lifestyle. You've got a nice roughly 4K coming in each month and you can do what you want to do. But when the business needs you, it needs you, and you're cool with that. Yeah. Or you can actually build a hands-free, scalable company that will 100%, or let's be honest, 95% run without you, and that's a different ballgame. And I just said, I'm in. You know, to like, what's the next challenge? Where's the next opportunity for growth? So I got my head around systemization and, you know, how the company would need to be structured, and set some goals, and off I went again on another mission.
Yeah, it is a different ball game, turning something in from a lifestyle business to a scalable, sellable business. So just so we can understand, so you've got 2 part-time staff at this stage, and were you office based then, or was it all remote?
We were office based at that point.
You were office based?
Yeah.
Yeah. And how did you take it from where you were then to where you are now? What were your first steps?
Wow. So that process was 4 years. So I'll try and summarize it as best as I can. But my first step was to understand systemization. So I got recommended a really good book for anybody that wants to understand systemization. Sam Carpenter, Work the System, is a phenomenal book that my mentor recommended to me. So I read that and I got it. So I started to systemize. However, wasn't quite as simple as I thought it would be. And to understand systems inside out, the full process really, honestly and truthfully took me about 2 years to completely wrap my head around, because every business is different. So to get it to specifically fit my business model and my personality and my work ethic and the team dynamics, like all of that stuff, it really took something. And obviously everything else was going on in the background day to day. Like the business didn't just suddenly stop. So we were still growing and taking on properties and things like that. So systemization was the first step. And then replacing myself. So for when properties did go back, I hired a property negotiator and a refurbishment coordinator, so I didn't have to do, so properties were just coming on and getting refurbished and slotting into lettings and admin without me doing anything. So that was great. And the team grew quite quickly, and the portfolio grew quite quickly as well. Yeah. But then I got to the stage where I realised to take it to the real next level, I needed someone better than me. Because I hadn't grown a company to that size and I'd never scaled past a certain number of people on a team. So I spoke to a different mentor and I said, you know, what do I do? And they said, you're right, it's time to find a company manager, someone who can literally take over your entire role and more, and their experience and profession is growing companies. So so I did that, and I hired the phenomenal Matthew, who's been company manager for nearly 2 years now. It'll be 2 years in September. So I've been completely hands-free for just over a year, I would say. And that was it. That was the turning point. The turning point was when I had 2 offices. I had the office for the team, and then I had my own separate office. And And after I'd taken him through the training process, he said, you know, what do you want me to do with the company, and what do you want to do? Which I thought was really great, because it's so open-minded for someone to say, you know, what do you want and how can I create that by doing what I do? And I just said, you know, I want to be hands-free. And he said, well, that needs to go then. He said, we need to get rid of your office. And I was like, oh, what am I going to do without my office? And he said, no, that's the first step. So I moved out of my office, and they sold my desk and chair, and I've just got a laptop, and that was it. I go in for 2 hours a week for the exec meeting, or just do it on the laptop or something, and we're done. So in a nutshell, that was the process. There were some road bumps, there were some scary times, but it's so worth it, and we got there in the end.
So what are the key things that you'd say to somebody who's in the situation that you were in, where they've got a business with some staff, they're not out of the business by any means, when the difficulty arises, they will be in it. How to get started with the process that you were on?
So again, I don't know if this is going to be people's favourite answer, but like, hand on heart, with every bone in my body, find someone that has done it and ask them to help you 100%. Because if you think that there's don't know in rent to rent, which is so simple, when it comes to growing a company and getting it hands free, it's a whole nother ball game. So if you can find someone that's done it, do that, and just have them, you know, take you through the process. It will save years and years, and make you so much more money, for sure.
Yeah. And so what does your business look like now? I mean, you mentioned that you're just in for a few hours a week. And what are the key things that you now do in your business?
Nothing really. So I'm there for Matthew, he's pretty much, if I'm honest, he's pretty much MD now rather than company manager. I haven't made it official, but I think we both know. So I'm just there to answer any questions he has. I guide and direct the company, so I will just get clarity on the growth goals. But to be honest, even that's something we do together. He's very, very smart, and he guides me as much as I guide him, which is a fabulous, priceless relationship. So, yeah, we're clear on where we're going and what we want to do next. And if I'm ever needed, I'll always step in, but it's rare that I am. So I spend most of my time on the other companies, which is an educational company, and also a separate venture that I have, which is a passion project. So that's what I do for most of the time now.
Fantastic. So tell us about that. What is it you're doing now?
So there's two things. There's the property education company, which is our Rent to Rent Academy, which is the 2-day course, which is basically a business in a box for rent to rent. And we then have our mastermind groups, standard and advanced, and a bunch of different mentorship and coaching programs. And that's that. Me and Matt run all of that together, and it's extremely rewarding. You know, someone will call me from the company and say, oh, we just signed another deal, and I'll be like, nice one. Someone who we're mentoring calls me and says, we've signed a deal, and I'm like, oh my God, let's celebrate. Because when it's someone's first deal, or the one that gets them to quit their job, or the one where their wife can leave full-time employment, or like that, you can't put a price on that, you know. And it never, the excitement levels never get less. It never gets less exciting. Yeah. It's just,
no, that's brilliant. I saw the pictures from your recent course on Facebook just now. Yeah, all the testimonials, and yeah, it just looked really amazing. And I think you've got one coming up quite soon as well, haven't you?
Yeah, there's another one in July. It's the 14th and 15th of July, and then the one after that is in October. So
brilliant. So from your courses, you will know this. What are people's main fears about starting off in rent to rent?
Oh my God, I'm sorry, the biggest gust of wind has just come and blown everything off my desk. Did you hear it?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Let me just close this window before there's carnage.
Okay. Great. Well, once Katrina gets back, we'll just go into a few more of these key learnings for rent to rent. So, Katrina, what would you say are the biggest challenges that people say, oh, I'm really scared about this, or what the biggest problem?
Yeah. I'm really glad you've asked this question, because I think people aren't maybe aware of the answer, and it's so beneficial to understand that with anything, with any business, any entrepreneur, there's two things that somebody needs, and that's the mindset and the attitude, and then there's the skill set and the tools and techniques to make it happen. And the biggest problem I see constantly is people focus on the skill set and the tools like that's what's going to make them successful, and not. That's probably 10 to 20% of it. The other 80 to 90% of it is their self-confidence, their self-belief, their conviction in what they're doing, their focus, their resilience, their determination, how well they can deal with no's, how well they can take it on the chin from agents, how passionate they are, how enthusiastic they are, how clear they are on their goals. That's what makes someone successful, that fire. And you see it in people's face when they're doing whatever they do. It's never the thing. So I would say it's people's belief and confidence in that it can actually work. And that's the foundation of what the whole of the Rent to Rent course is based on, is installing that in people, and it does just that. So that's what people need the most of. And
yeah. But how do you get it, Katrina? How do you get it? What do you say?
What we do is we break down every single area of Rent to Rent, the process. We've broken it into 5 steps, and we give examples, real life examples, and again, tools and techniques for them to fully understand, oh my God, this is easy. People come into the academy like it's difficult, or like they're maybe going to get caught out, or agents are scary, or why would a landlord give me their property? People just don't get it. And I take my hat off to them, because they're so not bought in, but yet they're still there on the course. So I love them for that. But then we go through step by step why agents don't just like you, they love you. How to get them on your side, why landlords literally will rip your arm off when you tell them what it is that you do, why you should have so much confidence, how phenomenal your service is. And we go through every single bit. People are just they're itching to get out of the course to make the calls, because they're ready, you know?
Yeah, no, that sounds great, and a massive learning. I think we all know once you're out there, it is the mindset that keeps you going and keeps you successful, because there are so many challenges with everything to do in property, whatever it is.
Yeah.
You've now got over 30 properties in your rent to rent and owned HMO portfolio. And what are you looking for now towards the future?
So I'm glad you've asked this question, because it's very specific. But Rent to Rent for me was always 100% a stepping stone. It was always a vehicle to time of financial freedom, and that's been achieved now. So I believe, and I've spent years just trying to really get clear on this, I actually believe that the sweet spot for Rent to Rent is somewhere between 6 to 10 properties, where you can have a couple of part-time staff or 1 or 2 kick-ass full-time members. You've got a solid 4 to 6K gross coming in. You've replaced your income. It doesn't take up all of your time. Then you go and do what you actually want to do with your life. Now, I appreciate some people might want to dedicate their life to growing a rent-to-rent business. I definitely don't. So now that it's done and it's ticking along nicely, and every month we're pretty much banking the same amount each month, that simply gets saved, and I'm purchasing property as I go to build the assets. But again, it's not full time. So my biggest passion, like I've said, it's something called Project Inspire that I founded, and it's all around the other 80 to 90% that makes a difference to people as entrepreneurs, you know. All of the mindset and the attitude and the focus and the resilience and the goals, all of that stuff. And I know that's just kind of the beginning, but I really want to grow that and share that with more people, and then see where it goes from there.
Great. Well, thanks so much for coming on and joining us tonight. I really appreciate it. And what we haven't really mentioned either is that you've also got, to help people do what you've done in terms of getting yourself out of your business and systemizing it, and creating a sellable asset, really. Have you got information about that at the moment?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So about the course itself, do you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. We've really just sat down and thrashed out, let's map out what it took for us to get to where we are. So I would say probably it's taken about 3 to 4 years. Don't really want to say how much I've spent, but it's in the tens and tens of thousands on business consultants, business coaches, this mastermind, this mentor, that mentor, to get there was nowhere where there was all the information in one place. Someone specialised in systems over here, someone specialised in management and managing and building and running a team over here. Do you know, it was all bitty. So we've brought the whole thing together and just condensed it into a course where you can actually get all of the information in one place. And the MD, Matthew, and I we are a great team, because he's been a management consultant for 10 years. So he goes into companies, he turns them around, and he's a beast. And then my experience is all of the mindset, the attitude, all of that side of stuff, as well as obviously the rent-to-rent stuff. So when we come together, there's literally nothing we can't do in terms of what people need. Like, we've got every base covered, you know.
Yeah. And when's that going to be starting?
So we don't have any dates yet. We've designed the course and we've got all the info, but the dates aren't in the diary. But if anyone's interested and they want to message, I'll get a date in the diary with him tomorrow and we'll just roll that out.
Okay, I'm chomping at the bit for it.
Oh, bless you.
Yeah, it's exactly the right stage for us. That's where we are. We are day to day in our business at the moment. We have staff. But yeah, we're definitely looking towards that future where we're in the same position as you, working on it, a few hours a week.
Yeah.
And we're both quite control freakery, so I think it'll take us a while to get to that.
Yeah, we was too.
Okay. Is there anything else that you wanted to mention while you're on?
Yeah, do you know what? There are a few things I'd love to say. I don't know how much this might support other people, but just for anybody that's starting out in property, obviously I don't know the people that are viewing now whereabouts they are on their journey. But for those of you that are maybe at the beginning or you're just starting out, the biggest tip I could ever give is to just do one thing. So just choose one strategy and do it really, really well. And I'm not saying you can't do an additional strategy in a year's time or tag something on, but I see a lot of people that seem to be doing a little bit of rent to rent, a little bit of SA. They're keeping their eye out for a lease option over here, but there's a commercial going on over there. Yeah. But they spend 2 hours a day doing cryptocurrency and they're possibly thinking about forever living. And I'm like, oh my God, my head's going to explode. And the reason why it's important is because you will not get anywhere fast. You'll go at a snail's pace. So just get somewhere quick and get financially free at least, and then start doing all the other bits and pieces as you go.
Great advice, great advice. Well, when we started in Rent to Rent, we were so full on, we couldn't even see anything else, never mind.
That's how it should be. That's how it should be.
But it's exciting now because we have got a few other irons in the fire. And last year we bought a commercial property, and we're just looking at what our options are, planning wise. With that, what we can make out of it, and we've got a few other things that we're buying. So yeah, exciting times.
Amazing.
But Katrina,
there is one other thing. Can I say one other thing?
You can say anything you like, Katrina. The floor is yours.
I think the other thing I'd say, which I hope is really helpful, is, and it's one of the reasons why I founded Project Inspire, which is a not-for-profit social enterprise to just give back to entrepreneurs, is that just take social media with a pinch of salt. You know, I think one of the biggest struggles I had on my journey was looking at other people that were where I wanted to be and wondering why I wasn't there yet. What's wrong with me? Why do they always seem so happy? And one thing that I never really got was that I was looking at the highlight reel of their life that was picked by them, and their words and everything. It's just totally constructed, which isn't a bad thing, but it's really important to know the reality of growing a property portfolio and being a property investor and becoming financially free versus all the glitz and glam that you get fed from most people. There's a huge difference between that and the reality. And I wish people spoke about it more, but it's not easy. Is it worth it? Yes, 1,000 times over. But is it easy sailing? No. Rent to rent's easy. Do you know what I mean? You can pop out your first few, not really with much problem, but if you want to grow it past there will be challenges, but don't be scared to talk about it. Ask people, you know, what was your biggest challenge and how did you overcome it, and just get real with what it really takes, and don't be afraid to fail. Don't be scared of having meltdowns and breakdowns and doubting yourself and tears, because it happens and it's all part of the journey, but the harder the journey, the more rewarding it is at the other end. So
absolutely, totally agree with that. Well, Katrina, it's been brilliant having you on. We will put some links below if you want to work with Katrina or just find out more about what she's got going on, either if you're a beginner and you're interested in the rent-to-rent training, or if you've already got an established rent-to-rent business and you're looking to taking it to the next level and systemizing and processes for taking yourself more out of the business. And also Project Inspire, which I've seen that you've had 2 amazing events, and yeah, I'd love to come along when you've got the next one. So thanks for Katrina for coming on, and thank you guys for watching, and I will see you all next week. Bye for now.
Thanks, Stephanie. Bye, guys.
Thanks. Bye.